When you get a good night's sleep, you feel incredible. You're happier, more motivated, more inspired, and you're just good vibes to be around. But when you get a bad night's sleep, you're irritable, you're anxious, you lose focus, your memory is worse, and doing any kind of work feels like you're sludging through treacle. But the thing is, these negative effects of a bad night's sleep have a domino effect on every other aspect of your health. According to Brian Johnson, an absolute legend in the longevity space, get 6 hours of sleep or less on average, and you're 4.2 times more likely to develop the common cold. I found this fact astounding, so I dove headfirst into research, and you would not believe what I found. In short, sleep is the most important thing we can do for our health and happiness. According to Matt Walker, scientist and author of Why We Sleep, the worse we sleep, the more we age. And sadly, this also increases our likelihood of developing Alzheimer's disease. But worry not. Just because you're a busy person doesn't mean you can't get 8 hours plus of good sleep every single night. Now, I'm sick of health and fitness influencers telling us that if we don't get enough sleep, we're gonna die and all these bad things are gonna happen to us. It's, fear-mongering, and it's very stressful. And there's no reason why we have to stop going to social events and weddings and parties and things that sometimes interfere with our bedtime. We're humans at the end of the day. We can adapt and we can adjust our plans. It's okay if you can't stick to the same bedtime every single night, as we'll talk about later. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of living if we don't have some fun along the way? That's when I realized that there isn't a single sleep guide out there for real busy people. People with full-time jobs, people with kids, people with other responsibilities and things to look after, people who are working on their dreams, if you pardon the pun. So if you implement the system that I'm about to give to you today, you could achieve 100% sleep score on your Whoop band, but that's not the goal at the end of the day. The goal is to build a reliable and sustainable sleeping habit to get good quality sleep without stressing and obsessing over metrics. So let's dive into my system of sleep mastery for real people. Now, this system is a combination of what I found works through life experience and a mixture of expert advice from people like Brian Johnson and Matt Walker, who really understand the science and health benefits behind good quality sleep. Take things one at a time, try and build one of these habits, and then once you feel solid and secure that you've built this one habit, move on to the next one. I'm going to list them in order of priority. So the first thing is the most important thing, and so on and so forth. And remember, important evening events will crop up from time to time, but use James Clear's 2-day rule from the book Atomic Habits, which states that you can miss 1 day of the habit, that's fine, but just don't miss 2 because you're more likely to quit if you do. Number 1 is stick to the same bedtime every single night. So we're trying to remove that willpower that we try to muster up to go to bed on time. So by setting in stone your bedtime, you're way more likely to stick to it because it becomes a habit and you don't need to use up any willpower to go do it. Now, this is the most important step because when you tell your body through consistent effort, this is when we go to sleep and this is when we wake up, your sleep will improve 10 times. And the key here is to not just go to bed at the same time every night, but to wake up at the same time every night. So you get a bit of a routine set in your body clock and your body knows what's going on. Now, at first, this will be quite difficult because your body clock just isn't used to going to bed at this time and waking up at this time. The first few nights might be difficult to fall asleep. The first few mornings, you might wake up not having had great sleep, but stick with it and persevere because you will eventually set this routine into your body clock, into your circadian rhythm, and it will get so much easier. Step 2 is use the 3-2-1 method. This is a classic get amazing sleep method. It basically states that you want to stop eating any type of food 3 hours before you sleep, stop drinking any liquids 2 hours before you sleep, and avoid all forms of blue light, e.g. mobile phones and TV screens, 1 hour before bed. Just by doing this and having a solid set in stone bedtime routine, your sleep will be better than it's ever been before. Now, it's not that hard to stop eating 3 hours before you sleep. If you've never done this before, it might sound scary, but just block in your dinner time 3 hours before bed, have a decent meal, make sure your belly's full and you'll be fine. Just have your last water 2 hours before. That's what I do. I chug a bottle of water 2 hours before, and then I'm less likely to get up and need a pee. And avoid all blue light 1 hour before. If you have to use screens 1 hour before, then at least get some blue light blocking glasses. I've got these ones, they're absolutely brilliant. They were like $20 $2 off of Amazon. It's really cheap and affordable, and they actually work. Step 3 is improve what you consume. If you can, try to eat only whole foods. Eating natural foods is going to improve your sleep. Junk foods full of sugar and fat and grease, it just does keep you awake. It just does disrupt your sleep, and it's not good for your digestion. And avoid alcohol as much as possible. Science has shown even one drink of alcohol before bed can completely disrupt your night of sleep. The myth is that alcohol is a good nightcap. Oh, just have a quick beer because it helps me to get to sleep. It might help you fall asleep, but the quality of your sleep will be rubbish, and you will have so many disruptions in your sleep because alcohol keeps waking you up throughout the night, even if you don't realize it. Of course, you can have a little treat from time to time in the evenings. That's okay. We're not trying to be extremists here. We're just saying avoid it as much as possible, because you're going to improve your sleep even more by doing that. Step 4 is have your last cup of caffeine before noon. Unless you're the 10% of people in the world who is completely unaffected by caffeine, then you need to be getting your last cup of coffee in before 1 p.m. at the latest. This might sound early, but if you've got a consistent wake-up routine, you're waking up at, let's say, 7 a.m. every single morning, you can still get a few cups of coffee in before noon. But just remember that caffeine has a half-life of 5 hours. So if you have your last cup of coffee at noon, you're going to have half a cup of coffee in your system at 5. But imagine if you have your last cup of coffee at 5 p.m. Well, then you're going to have half a cup of coffee in your system at 10 p.m. when you're trying to get to sleep. This is so bad, because half a cup of coffee before you go to bed is going to definitely keep you up throughout the night. And I might just say, if you're someone who is highly sensitive to caffeine and 1 cup at 7 a.m. keeps you up all night long that night, then maybe you want to quit caffeine altogether. Do what works best for you at the end of the day. Step 5 is pick a calming pre-sleep habit. You know, in that 1 hour of no screens before bed, well, try and fill that time with something that calms your heart rate down. You want to avoid any activities that increase your heart rate. These are things like exercise, stressful conversations, doing that last bit of work, or sending that last email. Instead, opt for things that are going to calm your heart rate down, like some meditation, reading a fictional book. Maybe you could go for a calming walk, or maybe you could take a lovely hot bath. Number 6 is make your bedroom a sleepful environment. If there's one piece of advice that I could give you right now, is that only use your bedroom for sleep. Obviously, this is a luxury that not everyone has, but if you do have the luxury of only using your bedroom for sleep, then please do. If you work in your bedroom or work out in your bedroom, every time you step into your bedroom, your brain is going to associate it with that instead of sleep, and you're not going to feel sleepy. A few other ways you can make your bedroom a sleepy environment is by dimming the lights. Low light levels help you to calm down and to get into that sleepy stage of the evening. And science has shown that red light is actually the best light to have on when you are off to bed. This is one of my personal tips. Sleep in whatever you're most comfortable in. You want to be nice and light and cool. You can sleep in however much clothing as you want, or however little clothing as what you want. Just make sure you're comfortable when you're in bed. Step 4 is get a temperature cooling mattress if you can. 8 Sleep is very good. They are absolutely amazing at maintaining a cool body temperature throughout the night, because as you probably know, your body temperature has to lower a little bit in order for you to drift off to sleep. So a temperature controlled mattress can really help with this. Make sure your sheets are comfortable, because any minor agitations like scratchy, warm, too hot sheets, they're just gonna wake you up and keep you up all night. Keep the room cool. You can do this by leaving windows open if you're in a cold place and it's not too noisy outside, or you could use fans or even air conditioning units. And the next tip, and this is optional, but if you sleep with your partner, you might want to get a separate blanket, a separate duvet. The reason being is in the night when we're tossing and turning, we can sometimes snatch the duvet from our partners without even meaning to, without even being aware, and this can actually wake our partner up, which isn't fair on them. My wife and I, we don't have this problem, so we don't feel the need to do this, but if you are finding that sharing a duvet is keeping you both up, then definitely get separate. Lots of the advice out there is sleep in a completely separate bed from your partner, but in my opinion, this just adds a blockage in your relationship. It creates distance and space, and at the end of the day, we want healthy, long-lasting relationships with our partner, and we don't want to be introducing any sort of friction in our relationship for no good reason. But if you do opt for the separate blanket option, just make sure you have a conversation with your partner about this beforehand. beforehand before throwing it on them, because they could take offense if you don't properly communicate about this. Now, step 7 is do outdoor exercise. We're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. The quality of our sleep rests on our circadian rhythm, which is our body's 24-hour clock. One of the best ways to do this is by getting exercise, but is also getting daylight within your first hour of waking. This is classic advice. You've probably heard it from Andrew Huberman before, which is where I got this information from. By doing this, we reset our molecular circadian rhythm and we produce melatonin, which helps us sleep at night. So kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Get in that 15 to 30 minutes of sunlight within the first hour of waking by also doing some exercise, 2 things that are going to help us produce melatonin later on and have a more restful night's sleep later on. Now, what I will say is don't stress about your sleep, because I've never heard of a stressful person getting a good night's sleep. If you want to get a sleep tracker like a Whoop band or an Apple Watch, then feel free to. Just don't get obsessed about it. I know lots of people who get obsessive about their sleep tracking and the quality of their sleep and their sleep score. And what happens is they start getting more and more stressed out about it, and then in turn getting worse sleep. So it's like, what's the point of doing that when it's actually harming you? Now, the system above is something to implement gradually and slowly. Remember what I said before, build one habit, be consistent with it. This can take, 2 to 3 months, and then move on to the next one and slowly build them up. And then, you're sure to get incredible sleep in no time. Now, if you found this video helpful at all whatsoever, then you're absolutely going to love my free weekly newsletter. You can sign up using the link in the description below. It gives you some life updates about me, some actionable tips to help your health and fitness, and also some motivation you can take with you throughout the week. Now, if you're serious about improving your sleep, then watch this video here. I know you're absolutely going to love it. Consider hitting that subscribe button to stay up to date, to become the healthiest and best version of yourself possible. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.